Hello and welcome once again to Oulton Park for round 8 of the GB4 Championship in 2025. It's bank holiday Monday today. We went racing last time out on Saturday for round 7. A brilliant race in changeable conditions with split tyre strategy saw Alex O'Grady take his first victory in the championship. We go racing twice again today here on the Monday. It's going to be another action-packed day of racing, and Lewis is going to run you through the highlights of round 7 from Saturday.
Highlights then from round 7 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. In very tricky, very wet conditions, the race down into the first corner would see Ginchard going all over the place after dropping back from the pole position, as Jason Pribble would have a big moment on the slick tyres into the first corner. Was able to keep it out of the gravel though, once he'd leave that gravel trap. Of course, there was a big move for the race lead, straight around the outside, going from 6th all the way up to 1st. It was Alex O'Grady on the wet tyres, moving his way through the order and getting past those two elite cars that were going side by side and their run into the Britain chicane. This moment would have Luca Magnussen in the 23 black, white and red car trying to work his way through the middle of. However, he'd have to be a little bit more patient. Would make the move though by the time he got onto the brakes into Hislops, would open the door, and it was Magnussen working his way through into 2nd. Bit of contact there between Taylor and Ari Bansal. There was Taylor dropping backwards down the order as they were all struggling with the very tricky and very greasy conditions. There was a big move though for 3rd position, as straight around the outside it was the KMR Sport car of Megan Bruce onto the final step of the podium, getting past Bostanchiev there. Unfortunately, this spin for Taylor would see the end of his race. A bit of a slide, and he would get beached on there. A couple of other issues as well for Dayton Coulthard and Leandro Juncos would bring out the safety car. They'd be back going again. It was Alex O'Grady with the control with 3 laps left to go in the race, and was able to run away and pull clear. Big slide coming in and a big and awkward spin from Hilton. He would be able to get back going again after that one. Pribble also having a bit of a moment again in the very awkward and greasy conditions of that final corner, would struggle to even get up the hill with how wet and greasy it was. Onto the brakes and then into the hairpin. Big moves coming in from Taylor, who was a lap down at this point but on the wet tyres, as he was working his way through comfortably on Katilis and the likes. Big moment as well late on as a big lock up in a battle for 6th position. It was Wilson going straight on, McLean coming through and then squeezing him off on the exit of the corner. Raven Dobson would nearly work his way through and they would cross over the line. Of course, the race victory, it was Alex O'Grady. Fantastic drive, dominant drive, and his win.
Well, thank you, Lewis, for taking us through the highlights of what was an action-packed round 7. It was excellent watching. I hope you enjoyed it at home. My name is Piers Prior. I'm going to be taking you through the lead up to today's round 8 and round 9 later on. I'm joined once again alongside by Max Maserati, former GB3 driver, championship contender, now working with the Graham Brunson racing team, helping their drivers. Max, let's just talk a bit about that round 7. Chaos, but tyre choice was critical.
Yeah, so thrilling. Like one of those races that as a driver you actually really want to be a part of, because it's chaos and you can really make a big difference, you know, in yourself there. Tyre choice was critical. And it was so 50-50. It's so rare that you're actually in a position like that. Normally it is a sort of easy choice between wet or dry, but I mean, as soon as I went off air on Saturday with you guys, I was standing here texting the team going, oh, I don't know. The track is still dry at this moment, but it's still raining. And you could see that with the split decisions amongst the team, that it was still dry. So they basically would have thought, you know, with the front guys, look at Taylor, for example, at Fortec, put him on the slicks because he can fire it up. But the guys who have less experience, less confidence, you know, those teams near the back were thinking, well, we don't have anything to lose.
The safer choice.
And yeah, like, put them on wets, because if they can't get heat in the tyre, this will give them some kind of confidence. But then it just didn't stop raining. It just didn't stop. And the radar said it would as well. So everyone's going off a radar that's saying it's meant to stop raining in a minute. And you're sort of standing in the pit lane going, oh no, there's spray coming up now. It's not stopping. So it's so intense. But you know, a lot of drivers started on slick tyres, and it was all about making that little difference, staying on the road, getting the most still out of it. You can't not push. You've still got to try and get the best position you can.
Absolutely, and tyre choice was critical, and ultimately it was the wets that was the correct choice. I don't think anyone knew what was going to be right, but a lot of the drivers that benefited were those 3 on the podium that we've already seen. But another driver that benefited massively was Megan Bruce. Her best result, 4th place, and I caught up with her straight after the race. Megan, round 7, 4th place in what was a chaotic race. Just talk us through how it was from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited for the rain, to be fair. Some people were on slicks, but the majority were on wets anyway. Had a good start and then kind of just kept moving through the field on lap 1 basically, and got stuck behind the safety car, which was a bit annoying because we kind of had a gap. We were in P3 for most of it until the last lap, so it's good, but it's annoying.
Conditions look really tricky out there on circuit. It was cars sliding around, a few people went off as well. How did you manage to keep it on circuit, and was it quite difficult going into a bit of a voyage of the unknown?
I mean, we had 2 green flag laps, and that gave us enough time to, warm up the tyres properly. I could see Ingram Hill was in front of me on slicks. He was going off the track just on the green flag, so I was like, it's definitely wet. They're going to struggle off the start. So we kind of just, I had a good start, went around the outside of a few people at Cascades and found myself up nearer the front.
Amazing, and you clearly drove very well as well. That must give you a lot of confidence going into the rest of the weekend and the year coming up as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a good result. It's annoying, obviously, not getting podium, but it's a good result and it's good confidence going into hopefully a rainy Monday as well. But yeah, it's good for the rest of the season.
Amazing, Megan. Congratulations on a great result, and we'll see you maybe on the podium next time out.
Hopefully, yeah.
Megan Bruce made the most of those changeable conditions, and as if by clockwork, we stood in just before the assembly area like yesterday, and it's just begun to rain. But Megan Bruce did a great job managing those tricky conditions, having started so far back.
Yeah, she did, because you still have to pass those guys on the slicks. There are other guys in the wets, and just because you're on the wets doesn't make it easy. It's not like, oh, okay, easy fourth now. You still have to keep it on the road yourself. It's still tricky conditions, and it wasn't totally wet. These are a full wet tyre. There's not an intermediate tyre. It wasn't like there were big puddles everywhere, so it wasn't the perfect condition to the wet either. It was just the better tyre to be on at that moment. You can see that because the pace difference actually in the lap time between the wet and the dries wasn't that big.
No.
But it's just that little difference that could give you a good result, and she made some really good overtakes there coming through. And I mean, could we be in this again? I mean, we're looking at the radar and it is looking like it's about to rain any moment, and it is starting to spit. So
we could be in a similar position for this one, but there was a lot of drivers that won and lost because of those changeable conditions. Another big winner in that was Josh McLean. He's had a bit of a time out of racing, so it was good to see him get a good result. 6th on the road, and I caught up with him. Josh, a chaotic race, but you managed to come through. 6th place on the road, your best result this year so far. You must be pretty happy.
Very, very happy. I mean, sat on the grid with bits of rain spotting down and getting a bit worse. It was a bit like, what are we going to do? But team made perfect decision to go on wets, and we had a really good race from there. Good clean race at the start, and we pulled it home to come P6, which we're really, really pleased with.
The tyre decision was the critical decision. How did you come to that decision? Was it a flip of the coin?
Was a big flip of the coin, massive gamble, because there was a lot more still on slicks at the time we went wets. I was a bit more of an advocate to go wets just because we had such a terrible qualifying again that we've got nothing to lose really, so might as well try something. The gamble paid off pretty well, so pretty pleased with that. And
you drove pretty well on circuit. You looked like really comfortable in those tricky conditions.
Yes, the car was set up really well. We did a couple of changes as well as the tyres, so traction was really strong. We raced pretty well. It was actually quite difficult getting past people on slicks because they were a bit more, obviously a lot less grip, but a lot more grip than I thought they would have, to be honest. The track was really weird, really wet in some places, quite dry in others, but it was, we can't complain with the result.
And this is, for those who don't know, your first season in single-seater racing. You've raced a lot in karts previously and GTs in the past as well. But going into this year, of course, it's a lot of a learning opportunity, new team to the championship as well. You guys gelling well. It seems like things are going in the right direction at least.
100%. The testing this weekend as well proved that. We're looking that we could easily qualify in the top 12, which is all we're after to start with. Sadly, as my end, we just didn't put it together in quali very well. But no, gelling really nicely. Started to build up a lot of confidence in the setup and where we're going. With 5 years out of karting and then a one-off race at Donington last year, it leaves me with not really anything really in cars and a big time out from karts as well. So it's all a big learning year, and we're starting to hopefully put some results together which will be better at the next round as well.
And surely that top 10 that you've got in race one, that's going to give you some confidence for both you and the team going forward to the rest of the year. What are your hopes for the rest of the year?
Over the rest of the year, we can be competing for winning races by the end. This is only round 3, round 10, 11, what technically it is, but the third event. The third event, so there's a lot more to come. Tracks we've been to before, and we're really comfortable at Donington and Silverstone. Just hopefully we can keep building on the momentum that we're building now. So,
Josh, it sounds like everything's going in the right direction. We look forward to seeing how the year progresses.
Yes, lovely, thank you.
Well, Josh McLean will be looking for a repeat of Saturday's. It wasn't yesterday. Today's Monday. Saturday's change of weather conditions, and quite entertaining for myself. A moment ago off camera, I said to Max, "You look cold," and you said,
"Yeah, it's just nerves.
It's just nerves.
Pure nerves right now."
Anyway, let's talk about the championship situation coming into this weekend. We had 2 points covering the top 4 drivers. It was Ginchard leading the way ahead of all 3 of the elite drivers who are on identical points. And somehow, in all of that melee and all of that chaos, not a great race for Dan Ginchard, he actually extended his championship lead to 4 points over Alex Katoulis.
Yeah, well, I've got to say, Ginchard's head is like, he is just so strong. He's so strong mentally. After the race, he got out of the car. You could see, went off at Druids on the first lap, trying to keep it on the road, trying to get the best result he could. And he just chipped away at it through, extremely quick on the slick tyre in those conditions. And when I saw him after the race, he was on pole and he dropped that, but he just shrugged it off and went, it happens. His experience with motorsport himself, I say, very strong mentally. You can see why, he's a Mercedes Junior. This is a very rated driver, and he just shook it off. It happens. This happens. It's motorsport. We go again Monday.
Absolutely. And in motorsport, you and I, Max, know that sometimes when you're at the front of the field, your championship can be decided not by your best days, but by your worst days. And if yesterday was a bad day for Dan Ginchard and he walks away with a gaping 4-point lead, 132 points is the total championship points for Dan Ginchard at the moment, then it's a decent day. Another driver that knows how to bang in points, as you did, Max, back in the day, is Alicia Parmovsky. Alicia joined us last year in the GB4 Championship for Elite Motorsport. She was right up there in the championship hunt. She's gone on and she is now racing it in the F1 Academy with Red Bull Racing. She's having a great showing of it. Great to see her go on to bigger and better things, and she's also been presenting the trophies this weekend, and I managed to catch up with her yesterday. We've got some returning faces in the paddock this weekend, including Alicia Parmovsky. Alicia, great to have you back here. Successful course in GB4 last year, but going on to even bigger and better things. Just tell everyone at home what you've been doing since you left the paddock.
Yeah, so for this year I'm racing in the F1 Academy with the support of the Red Bull Racing Pepe Jeans Academy programme. So quite a step up from what we were doing in GB4 last year, but super excited to be back here this weekend. It's great to see the championship with the new cars. I've heard a lot of great feedback just today alone on the new cars. The grid looks phenomenal as well. The standard is extremely high. So yeah, I'm just super grateful to see how well the championship's doing. And
I've been seeing a lot of you on social media and also all around. You've got the Red Bull colours all over your car and your helmet and your suit. It must be cool to be working with some of the biggest names in motorsport.
Oh, it's incredible. It's honestly a dream come true. There's not enough words to describe the opportunity that I've been given. So I'm just working really, really hard behind the scenes to just try and maximise the opportunity and try and do well this year. It's a big learning curve, and the cars are quite different to what we had last year. There's a lot of new circuits, a lot of flights as well. I've done 33 flights so far this year, so I've been super, super busy. But the support from Red Bull is incredible. From a driver development perspective, they allow me to have complete access, free access to the facility in Milton Keynes in the factory, so I can go on the sim whenever I want to. I've been in the sim this last week, actually doing a lot of Montreal prep, which is our next round. So yeah, super busy, but it's amazing.
And from what I've seen, it's been going pretty well on circuit as well. Has it been above what your expectations would have been?
No, to be honest, I wouldn't say above. I think it's been quite a challenge, to be honest. Probably a bigger challenge than I realised, just with how different the car is. I feel that I've had to sort of relearn a lot of my driving technique, how I brake, how I turn in. The cars just have very different tendencies and characteristics. So I've started from scratch a little bit, just tried to learn again, but I feel I'm getting there now, and I'm learning every time in the car, gaining more and more confidence. So we made a good step forwards at Miami, so I just want to keep with this momentum going forwards, and hopefully we can have a strong end to the year.
And clearly GB4 put you in a good place to make this step.
100%. Without GB4, I wouldn't even be on this grid at all. I wouldn't be wearing Red Bull stuff at all. I wouldn't have any link to them. So it's really changed my life, and what I learned in the GB4 in the single-seater has made me into the driver I am today and given me the opportunity to be able to try to adapt to this new car. So it was incredible last year. Great racing, great circuits as well. I love the great UK circuits. So the weather's much better here as well. It's not too hot than the countries that I've been in. So it's been great, yeah.
Amazing. Alicia, great to chat to you, and also you're an inspiration for the next generation of GB4 drivers.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great to have Alicia with us this weekend, and great to see her doing so well. A personality away from the circuit, but very fast driver on the circuit as well, and proving that in the F1 Academy. We've bid farewell to Max Maserati. He's had to run away and go and have a look at the track down at Cascades, but that gives us a good chance now to have a look at the circuit in a bit more detail with Lewis McGlade, and then I'll ride you on board a lap in the GB4 car around this Oulton Park circuit.
The Oulton Park circuit plays host to the third weekend of 2025. An iconic circuit, very narrow, very twisty indeed. That run through Old Hall at the first corner, then down the avenue into Dentons and Cascades, along Lakeside as we flick through the flat-out left-hander at Island Bend, onto the brakes into the banked corner of Shell Oils. Then they'll head their way through the Britain chicane before we rise up and over the crest at Hilltop and then down into the Hislops chicane. It goes right and then left, extremely tight with the tyre bundles, and then through Knickerbrook and up the hill as they go past Water Tower and then up towards the Druids corner, a double apex right-hander before the last run down into Lodge corner, up Deer Leap and onto the start-finish straight. One of the main features around here, of course, along with its narrowness, is the undulation. It's one of the primary features around this 2.7-mile circuit. Lots of lumps and bumps for the drivers to be dealing with as they wrestle the 17 corners of the Oulton Park circuit. 22 metres of elevation all the way around, that biggest rise as they come up Clay Hill.
Let's ride on board this Oulton Park circuit with Douglas Motorsport driver Dayton Coulthard. We go over the start-finish line completely flat out, pulling fifth gear towards the entry. Braking and turning into the entry of turn one, it nips up at the apex and watch out for track limits on the left on the exit. Now we head downhill towards Cascade. Stay to the right-hand side, track dips away aggressively, brake at the bottom of the dip, get to the apex early and feed in the power. Again, watch out for track limits on the exit. Run any wheels over onto that green painted tarmac at turns 1 or 3 and your lap time will be deleted in quali and you'll be expecting penalties in the race. Flat out through Island Corner, back to the left hand side, braking hard for Shell Oils. Get in early to use the camber, heavily banked in here and on the power early as well. Watch out, the track falls away quickly on the exit of the corner. Next up, Britain's technical corner. We jump over the curb on the left to keep the car left to open up the right onto the long straight down towards the Knickerbrook chicane. We stay right to go over the less high parts of the hill, just maximising any speed we can over that hill. Braking and turning once again, trail braking into the apex, tricky chicanes through Knickerbrook, hit the curb on the first, stay left through the middle, and then we open up the final right-hander. Watch out for track limits again on the exit. Now a moment's breather as we head up Clay Hill. Keep it to the left, over to the right, and now we're going to head left under the trees to open up the double apex Druids. We hit the first apex, run to the middle of the circuit, and then just miss a second for the optimum line. Watch out, the car goes light on the exit. Final corner coming up now, big braking zone, downhill over the bumps into the final corner. An overtaking opportunity in the races. The track drops away on the exit and can drag you off the circuit. And that is a lap on board the Oulton Park circuit with Dayton Coulthard for Douglas Motorsport. That was the Oulton Park circuit in the dry. Well, we're not sure if it's going to be dry or wet at the moment. There's a lot of tyre changing going on with a few minutes now before we head into this round 8 of the championship. Our pole sitter once again is Dan Ginchard, championship leader by 4 points. He came into this weekend as championship leader very, very quick in testing in dry conditions. Slick tyres on that car for now, as is the driver in second place and second place in the championship as well. Alex Catoulas gone on slick tyres. The rain is still falling, but lighter than it did yesterday. Familiar sight at the front of the field. 3 elite motorsport cars at the front of the field. Third place this time is Ari Bansal. Fourth place, Isaac Phelps. He's taken a couple of victories this year so far, so keep an eye out for him. I'm looking around the grid and I can't see any wet tyres at the moment. There was wet tyres on a fair few of the cars until a few seconds ago. We'll grab a quick word with Kevin Mills of KMR Sport. Kevin, you've gone with slicks.
Yeah, gone with slicks, but I think we will get a little bit of rain during the race. So I nearly gambled again on Lily at the back. She's not really got anything to lose, but I've decided not now. Just go with the flow with everybody.
Absolutely right. And we're going to see if that gamble pays off at the back of the field. We're hearing that a couple of the drivers at the back may have some wet tyres, although it looks like they've just about changed over to slicks. Further down the order, Alex O'Grady. He was our winner on Saturday, 2 days ago. If I've said yesterday a couple of times in the broadcast, apologies, it was 2 days ago. He took his first win in commanding fashion on those wet tyres. Can he emulate that on the slick tyres? Also interesting to see that some of the teams choosing to go with the brand new slicks on the left-hand side. They will be, in theory, a little quicker once they get warm, but it will take a little longer to get to operating temperature. I'm going to grab Joseph Loke if he's available. No, he's not. He's actually currently chatting to his drivers, doing his job. But yeah, those new tyres, quicker once they're warm. They take a little bit longer to get up to temperature, which is harder when the wind is blowing. There's still rain in the air as well. Pretty windy, actually. It's a side wind from the right to left going over start-finish, which is a headwind going down towards turn 2 at Cascade. That'll then be a tailwind through the back section of the circuit, so that will affect how the cars drive throughout the circuit. Moving further down the order, we've got 10th and 11th, two Graham Brunton Racing drivers. We have the number 45, Callum Baxter, a returning driver, highest seeded returning driver this year. He came 7th last year. And his teammate, Alex Berg, who's one of the highest placed drivers on slicks yesterday. Keep an eye out for him. He managed to get those tyres working pretty well yesterday. He was working very well with the slicks in those changeable conditions. Then another driver joins us again, Bastangiev. He raced in GB3 a couple of rounds ago. He joined us at the start of the season in GB4 too, so he's got a wealth of single-seater experience this year. Newer tyres on his right-hand side, so again, different tyre strategies with different teams. Each car gets 6 tyres, so a set and a half to use through qualifying and the races. That's slick tyres only. Wet tyres, they get more. They can use it however they want. So a lot of the teams will go, well, they'll have to go new tyres in qualifying, but then they'll have still 2 brand new tyres. Some teams choosing to go on the left-hand side, which is more widely used around here, clockwise circuit. Other teams choosing to just bed it in a bit more gently by putting it on the right-hand side of the car. Number 44 here of Maya Dionorine. He struggled a little bit yesterday, but it's great to see him back on the grid with us this year. He joined us for a few guest races over the last couple of years. Great livery on that Graham Brunton racing car, Acer sponsored there. And then Jason Pribble next to him, the number 59. If you watched the show on Saturday, we spoke to Jason ahead of the weekend. He's had some practice around this circuit in his own personal 1.2 litre Corsa. Bit of a different beast than a GB4 car. I don't know whether he's had any experience in those wet conditions. And also keep an eye out for the number 23 here of Luca Magnussen. He was 2nd place yesterday on the wet tyres, again now on slicks, so we'll see if that pays off in this one. He'll be looking to emulate that good result. Alongside him, Dayton Coulthard, the number 28. We rode on board with him, and just to the right here is the 28, Dayton Coulthard. We rode on board with him a moment ago around the lap, so you can see a driver's eye. One thing that the camera sort of shows, but not even so much in real life, is the amount of elevation change here at Oulton Park. Really is a lot of ups and downs. Through the first sector, they'll drop downhill to Cascades, then gives you a bit of compression, extra grip in the middle of the corner. Then they use a lot of curves, the banking at Shell Oils, that final sector, Druids, and then down to Lodge at the last corner as well. It's something that drivers really have to get on top of because it affects how the car feels throughout our lap. And on that car, of course, new car in 2025 here for the GB4 Championship. Lewis is going to talk to you a little bit more about some of the features of this new to 2025 car in GB4.
The GB4 Championship introduces a new car to the series for 2025, the Tartus MSV GB4025. The Tartus MSV GB4025 previously raced in the GB3 Championship between 2022 and 2024, so it's already a hugely proven and well-received machine with excellent levels of reliability and parity. With the all-important Halo cockpit protection device, upgraded safety standards all round, and a revamped technical package. To meet GB4 requirements, the car has single-plane front and rear wings, a naturally aspirated 2-litre 4-cylinder mount-tune engine mounted to a 6-speed SADEV gearbox with paddle shift, bodywork revisions, as well as additional safety upgrades including improved side impact and rollover protection. And that's the new GB4 car for the 2025 season.
Thank you very much, Lewis, talking us through some of the features of the new 2025 GB4 car. The drivers are liking it so far. We've seen it racing close this year already. Update on the weather situation. The rain has actually subsided, but I've been hearing from the teams that on the radar, the weather radar, a big cell of rain is coming in. So at the moment, as far as I can see, every single car on slick tyres. If that rain comes in, then this is going to be a tricky race for the drivers ahead. I'm going to wade in and grab a word with some of our personalities around to see what they think is going on. Let's go and chat to Graham Brunton of Graham Brunton Racing. Sorry to interrupt here, guys. Graham, slick tyres on for now. I've heard that there's rumours of rain coming in.
Yeah, well, I was going to say we've got 3 different radars within our team, and they all say it's going to be, it might be the odd spit, but should get through to the end. But having said that, that's the 3 radars that we used yesterday, and we went the other way. So there's an assumption that we come from the North Pole and we're sort of closer to the clouds than everyone, and we'll know. But really, in all my years, it's been really tricky to make the right choice.
It's always tricky to make the right choice, and yesterday was a shining example of that. It looked dry at this part of the circuit, but then on the back end, because it goes way out over there, it was wetter.
We being honest, we prided ourselves. We were we were the top two of the guys that made the wrong decision.
Yes.
Big deal.
Yes, Alex Berger, word on that. He drove excellently to just stay out of trouble, really.
Yeah, which, as you know, does them no harm. You know, you should never be on a wet track with slicks, but if that situation arises, you've got to know what to do, and our guys did a good job, although it was the wrong decision.
Hey, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's how Rosebud works. Graham Brunton, the team manager and owner of Graham Brunton Racing. We've spoken about those drivers already. I'm going to wander in and grab a word with some more personalities. Why don't we grab a word with Chris Weller, race engineer of Jason Pribble. Chris Weller was my race engineer back in 2020. Chris, you've gone with slicks today.
Yes. Yeah, I think probably the right decision today, but maybe not the right decision yesterday.
Yeah, you looked tricky out there. Jason did well to keep things going just about.
Yeah, he did, yeah. He was okay. He was doing all right yesterday. He did well.
He
Yeah.
did well indeed. Chris, how much does thought, what sort of things are you looking at in the tyre decision ahead of the race?
Well, we're looking at what everybody else is doing and trying to judge what the weather's going to do. The hardest bit is seeing what the weather's going to do, really. We've been looking at different weather radar apps, and everyone seems to be different, and it changes every time you look at it as well. So it's been a bit hard to call, but that's what we've gone with slicks for the moment.
Gone with slicks.
Everyone else has as well.
Yes, for now. It'll be interesting if it does rain. Thanks very much, Chris. Very much an experienced race engineer in this paddock and many others as well. As I mentioned, my race engineer back in 2020. And we did all right around Oulton Park. We took a win in the reverse grid race, didn't we, Chris? There we go. We moved backwards further down the field. The number 8 we're looking at here is Thomas Ingram Hill alongside Ava Dobson. Again, on slick tyres again. The back of the field again, we've got some tyres brand new, and also on I think Enzo Horman's actually got 2 used tyres on there. I'm hearing a moment that we're about to go racing, so I think for the second time this weekend, round 8 of the GB4 Championship is coming up in a moment.
So Bank Holiday Monday is ready to get going again. Of course, our second race of the weekend, round 8 of the championship and race 1 of this Monday. It was so tricky in conditions yesterday. It's still a little bit on edge out there at the moment, but we are prepared for a slick-tired race. No wets required as we get racing around Oulton Park. Let's take a look once more at the circuit. Of course, in the circuit that caused so many problems yesterday. Old Hall, the first corner, caused its fair share of problems. Shell Oils and the Britain chicane. Jack Taylor going off down there. We saw some big moves coming down to his lops, including the one for the race lead where Alex O'Grady was able to work his way through and run clear of the field, as well as Luca Magnussen getting through into second. Lodge calling the final one as they head up Deer Leap and onto the start finish straight. Of course, the 2.7 miles short circuit, relatively speaking, still decently long enough and plenty of opportunities for overtaking with a 22 metres of elevation around here. Let's remind ourselves a little bit of yesterday. It was 50-50 when it came to the slick slash wet tyre runners. Those that were running the wet tyres, you might have said those team managers are a bit circumspect with their choice of tyres. They still picked right. Let's take a look at the grid order then. It's Dan Ginchard on first position with Alex Catoulis starting alongside Ginchard on pole position for both of the races this weekend. Ari Bansal in third position with Isaac Felters being promoted up. He was in 9th yesterday, now up to 4th place. And then in 5th place is Leandro Juncos, who retired yesterday alongside Alex O'Grady, your race winner yesterday in the very, very difficult conditions. In 7th position is Jack Taylor, who retired in a very unfortunate circumstance. Was able to get back going, but obviously was a lap down, and that is what it was. Leon Wilson in 8th position. Then it's Luke Hilton and Callum Baxter who will be rounding out the top 10 for Graham Brunton Racing. The final 2 positions inside the top 12 is Alex Bird and Stefan Bostangiev, who had some struggles but some decent pace in the pace performance number 17 and has returned to the GB4 Championship. Mayor Dianarine in 3rd team position with Jason Pribble, who went off the first corner in yesterday's wet conditions. Luca Magnussen on the podium yesterday. He's in 15th position with Dayton Coulthard in 16th spot. Then in 17th place is Enzo Holman and Thomas Ingram Hill. The two sides of the Fortec camp they went very different directions, and for some they were happy, for some they were not. Ava Dobson will start from 19th position alongside Megan Bruce, who finished a position short of a podium yesterday. Was looking very good on speed. Josh McLean in 21st position, had a great drive alongside Holly Mile in 22nd. The final row of the grid will see Lily Watkins and Caitlin McDaniel on that final row. Of course, in the commentary box, it's Lewis McGlade. It's Piers Prior who'll be alongside me. He's had his run around the paddock. He's sprinted into the comments box. There, you've got your scooter today. You're all right.
Oh, no.
That is McLean. That is Josh McLean. That is coming out. Is that of Druids?
No, that's on the way to Island Corner on the straight, I believe. So he's clearly been warming those tyres aggressively. I don't know, wager a bit, and then he's unfortunately probably lost control there, and that's a fairly hefty impact. Front corner, right rear, rear wing, front wing. Unfortunately, he will not be continuing and completing this race. We're getting the message that the race is delayed.
Yeah. He's in good company for doing that this weekend, of course. If spoilers, sorry, but if you watched the Indy 500, Scott McLaughlin, someone who I'm a big fan of, did pretty much the same thing. So you're in good company being in that list, but obviously a very unfortunate instant there for McLean, who had a really solid drive yesterday. Finished in 6th position. You caught up with him.
Finished on the road in 6th. He had a plate reversal, 7th after in the final classification for Josh McLean. He had a very good race. He was on the wet tyres. His strongest race of the year so far. He's not had the start of the year maybe he would have wanted, but having had so many years out of the seat, he was very successful in karts in junior karting in sort of 16, 17, 18, 19, then took a bit of a sabbatical away from motorsport, rejoined racing last year, had a guest drive at Donington in the Janetta GT Academy or GT Cup, I can't remember the official title of that, and that revitalised his racing career, and now getting used to a single-seater slicks and wings racing series in GB4. It's built the year slowly with the new team Pace Performance, and then his best result yesterday, 6th on the road, 7th place after in the final classification. We spoke to him in the show just a moment ago, just enjoying his racing at the moment, although I imagine he probably didn't enjoy this race so much. Unfortunate to see, but easily done in these cool conditions with a damp circuit on slick tyres.
Yeah, exactly. Like as much as it's not wet like it was yesterday, or even as greasy as it was, it still is greasy out there. It still is cold. There is the race control message. So we'll get one more formation lap under the belt, and that is why the race duration has changed from 18 minutes to 16 minutes. There's Ava Dobson with the F1 Academy visor. Obviously, great to see her racing around the Miami Grand Prix in the F1 Academy. That was a lot of fun. There's your race winner from yesterday. Is now your 6th winner in 7 races. Obviously, technically, because of Isaac Phelps being the repeat winner in there, and he won the first race of the season, we're on 6 different winners in a row. We could get 7, but obviously the winners that we've had, Isaac Phelps, Ari Bansal, Alex Katoulis, Dan Ginchard, and then, of course, Alex Berg and Alex O'Grady.
Yes. The only double winner this year, still, Isaac Phelps, and he's down in 4th place in the championship.
3 Alexes have won, though.
That is
Katoulis, Berg, and O'Grady. There you go. Best name.
Yeah, is it a fast name, or is it just a comment on the popularity of the name Alex in around the year 2005, when most of these drivers were born? There's Megan Bruce, had a really strong result yesterday, 4th place. Her best result in the championship after, she's been in the championship a couple of years now, hasn't she? And she's looking to have a final go and really use the experience that she's had in this championship to best effect. Did do that yesterday. It will be a little more tricky for her today. She's somewhere down the back of the order on slick tyres, as the rest of the grid are. Yeah,
the difference is obviously she was 19th yesterday on the grid. Was in 3rd position at the end, I think it was the start of the 2nd lap, wasn't it? Went around the outside Cascades, up into 2nd position on that 2nd lap. However, like you say, that was the difficult conditions. That was the choice of tyre which worked out in favour. There was McLean's car getting pulled out of the way, so it's onto the low loader and out of the way, meaning we should hopefully get this formation lap once again underway. Dan Ginchard looking for his 2nd victory of the season. Had a very disappointing race yesterday.
Yeah, disappointing race, but as I mentioned in the assembly area, somehow, even after a disappointing race, had a couple of little mistakes, didn't finish the highest of the slickshod cars, extended his championship lead. Yep. Again, still a slim championship lead, 4 points, but he came into the weekend with a 2-point advantage over all 3 elite cars. He's now 4 points clear of Katoulis, who is then 1 point clear of Bansal, and then Phelps is another further point backwards. So still all three of those elite cars only separated by 3 points, and Ginchard with a 4-point lead at the front of the field. I think it's going to be a battle between those four at the very least for the rest of the season, although don't count out Alex O'Grady. He's closing the gap now on 97 points, just 20, if my math serves me.
35 of the lead.
35 off the lead, 20 something off the leading group of Phelps, Bansal and Catullus.
The reason why I say 35 off the race lead, how much is it for a race victory in this race?
35 points.
35 on the dot. Here we go. Well, look, we'll have to wait and see what Alex O'Grady can do. It's really nice to see the top four in the championship separated by 6 points. And I was chatting to Ollie Dutton, obviously team manager at Fortec, a little bit earlier on in the day, and he was saying that, obviously very disappointed with how the call went for like Jack Taylor. Obviously is kind of involved in that championship, is now obviously a little bit behind, is now 10th in the standings after a couple of bad results. We were saying at least they've made a bad error and judgment on strategy. So did the top four in the championship, though. That's what's allowed Alex O'Grady to fire his way in. We're rolling around again. We'll have 16 minutes in the race, but let's talk you through the grid once more, just in case you weren't here a little bit earlier on. It's Dan Ginchard on pole position, making it pole position in both of the races this weekend from qualifying. Alex Catullus alongside on the front row. Ari Bansal in third position with Isaac Phelps in fourth. Those top four drivers have all been victorious so far in the 2025 season. Leandro Juncos has not, though. He's the only driver in the top six that hasn't won a race. He'll be starting from fifth position alongside Alex O'Grady, yesterday's winner, or rather Saturday's winner. Jack Taylor in seventh position, also yet to win, alongside Leon Wilson in eighth place for the Arden team. Has had a couple of big bits of drama, including getting pushed off yesterday. Luke Hilton from ninth position with Callum Baxter in 10th for the Graham Brunton racing team. Before we roll down the rest of the field, Alex Berg, the only other winner on the grid, is in 11th position, alongside Stefan Bastangiev in 12th place to end the first half of the field. Then it's Mayor Dia Nareen for Graham Brunton Racing in 13th, the last of their drivers, with Jason Pribble, who had a great start yesterday and unfortunately drove through the gravel track on the opening lap. Luca Magnussen was able to work his way through onto the podium yesterday, alongside Dayton Coulthard, who'll be starting from 16th position. 17th is Enzo Holman and Thomas Ingram Hill from 18th spot. 6 more cars left to go on the grid as we'll get 19th spot Ava Dobson. Megan Bruce starting from 20th, 1 spot worse than she was yesterday, with the final couple of rows being headed by Josh McLean and Holly Mile, and then of course the final row that sees Lily Watkins and Caitlin McDaniel on them. Who is your choice for victory?
Dan Ginchard is hard to look past in this one. Well, there's a lot of cement dust on the outside and the entry towards Druids. That will be giving the drivers a bit of something to worry about, because normally that means it's there's been either some sort of fluid, either water or oil down there, or coolant of some description. You're always a bit wary of fresh cement dust down, because sometimes it soaks it up very well, but sometimes you can drive over it and then it gives you a big snap of either understeer or oversteer. And a corner like Druids, which is pretty high stakes at the best of times, we'll be interested to see the line that drivers tend to take through there, because on the normal racing line is where the all that fluid was dropped. But I think it's hard to look past Dan Ginchard in this one. Its pace has been exceptionally topped every practice session at bar 1 when he was interrupted by a red flag. Pole in qualifying, double pole in qualifying, and now with everyone on slick tyres, he's the man to beat. But don't count out any of the elite drivers. If they get a good start and can jump Ginchard at the front of the field, it is notoriously tricky to overtake around Oulton Park.
Yeah, it's another double pole. I was talking about this yesterday. The last time there was a non-double pole, it was 2 years ago, basically to this weekend, because I remember it was the Indy 500 Monaco Grand Prix weekend in 2023. We were at Oulton Park, and it was Tom Mills and Colin Queen who grabbed the pole position on that day. We have had double poles ever since, and well, we'll have to wait and see. You can see the wind has picked up. You saw the speed as well, slightly higher than yesterday. 3 kilometres an hour faster than yesterday is the wind, but it's coming off the same direction. So it's kind of crosswind, but it'll be a headwind as you're heading out of turn 1 and then dropping down the hill. I'm sure it'll be difficult nonetheless. Dan Ginchard on pole position. 16 minutes of the race onto the clock, 1 lap shorter than we were running yesterday, as we race our way then down into the first corner. It is a good start from our pole sitter Ginchard, who'll be leading down into that first turn from a trio of elites, and there he is straight through as the hill speed leading from one of the elites has dropped backwards. I think that might be Isaac Phelps, who's dropped back behind Leandro Juncos, who's made a bit of progress as he works his way down the inside in the 77.
Oh, Juncos, the second of the hill speed cars there in different livery to our leader in the black and white. He's jumped past 2 of the elite drivers. Great run out of turn 1. Now he's going for 2nd place alongside Catullus.
Yeah, this is a big move coming in from Leandro Juncos, the 77 to the inside as they work their way through Island Bend. Big moment there and a big snap right onto the nose of Catullus, and it's allowed the 46 of Ari Bansal to come through. Big moment of Bansal. He's going to clip the grass, maybe. No, he keeps it just off as they go into the banking at the Island Bend. Manages to keep it on the road and loses only positions rather to his 2 teammates.
Wow, you saw Bansal have a big handful of oversteer through Shell Oils. It's clearly a bit more damp over at that part of the circuit than it is at the start, or potentially some of that either fluid or oil been dropped down from a previous race. But we go side by side in the background. That's Hilton on the right, and then Leon Wilson in the 27 on the left.
Yeah, Hilton's trying to send it around the outside. He's got Jack Taylor in the red and white Fortec car trying to work his way through, but it is the light blue of Hilton hanging on to that spot. Had one of the Graham Brunton racing cars fire straight through the foreground of shot. Where did they come from?
Yeah, Mayor Dionorine clearly took to the cut through in the Knickerbrook chicane. We head into that area now where there's a lot of a lot of cement dust down on the racing line. Alex Berg, no, that's Callum Bax just running through that, having an oversteer moment. Now he's under pressure from the Pace Performance car, the sole remaining Pace Performance car in this race.
Alex O'Grady's putting pressure onto the rear end of Isaac Phelps as well. Could we be seeing him into the championship mix? There it goes wide. That's Jack Taylor who's gone wide. Jack Taylor in the Fortec has gone out a little bit wide. He had struggles yesterday, got beached coming through the Britain's chicane, and now has been off the road as well. That number 50 in the middle of shot, it's dropping right the way down the order. It is a dominant position at the moment for Hill Speed in this race as Ginchard leads by a second over his teammate Leandro Juncos. Alex Catullus, despite that moment right on basically his nose, then still runs in 3rd position. It's Phelps, then Bansal, then O'Grady, Wilson, Hilton, Dionorine and Baxter, but Dionorine obviously has to give up quite a few of those positions.
Yeah, dream start for Hill Speed. They were 1st and 5th on the grid. They now are 1-2. Juncos is 2nd back on his teammate with Catullus, about half a second back on Juncos in 3rd place. But it was a dream start from Juncos, really. He got away at the line, took a place down into turn 1, then another one down into turn 2, and then a 3rd going into Island Corners. This battle between Leon Wilson rages on, but unfortunately the 44 of Mayor Dionorine looks like he's in the barriers. I think he's okay, you can see him moving around. I think that's up at Shell Oils. We'll confirm that in a moment.
It's one way to give the positions back, isn't it? But either way, he has certainly been off the road, and it might require the intervention of a safety car. No note yet from race control. They'll tend to leave them racing basically as far around as they can go if they need to get that car out of the way. Depends whether he can get into reverse, whether it's actually visited the barrier itself.
Yes, he was. It was close to. Not confirmed whether he hit the barrier, but good to see that he was moving and largely okay. But we race until the safety car boards. Getting note from race control, safety car is deployed, but all the drivers can still overtake up until that first yellow flag, which is over the start-finish line. So race neutralised. Mayer's okay. That's the main thing. I think that is up in that Shell Oils corner. Not a huge amount of runoff there, but the full safety car has been deployed to retrieve that car.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, we'll have to see as to exactly how he got into that spot. It's quite easy to overdo that corner, isn't it? It's so fast on the way in. You come through Island Bend, which is that left-hander just before Shell Oils, the hairpin. You flick it through there at such high speed. I mean, these cars, it will be flat. And then,
it is.
And then, you know, you lift, you get onto the brakes. It's so easy to lock a brake. I mean, it could be. No, it wouldn't be a Druids. No, I think you are right, Shell Oils.
Yeah, almost certain, because there's the shrubbery right in the background there gives it away, I think. It's quite isolated, isn't it?
You're well versed with what's going on around this circuit, are you?
Oulton Park, yeah, I've been in the shrubs in Oulton Park a fair few times here. I've been off circuit a couple of times in my fairly short racing career, but it's this man at the front of the field. Let's move swiftly on. Dan Ginchard still leads the way. It could well have been that Mayer was trying to make a move into Shell Oils either on the left or the right. You see that fairly often with the cars through this island corner, drifting out to the right of circuit and then coming back to the left for the racing line. You often get a bit of a miscommunication. And the fire extinguisher has been deployed, so hopefully that's just precautionary. That'll be a fair amount of work for the team to clear up before race 3 this afternoon.
And interestingly, the fire extinguisher had not gone off whilst Mayor Dionorine was in the car, because he got out without being covered by the extinguisher itself. Yeah, so
maybe there was maybe with the car being hot and stopping suddenly, it could have been either set off by the marshals in reaction to something they'd seen, or sometimes when you get in a crash, it can dislodge a system and maybe cause that fire extinguisher to go off. Either way, the Graham Brunton racing team will have to do a fair amount of work on that car to get it fixed, and also a new fire extinguisher system fitted, because these cars can't race without the fire extinguisher. Of course, one of the vital safety systems. When you press the fire extinguisher button, either from externally by that number, the E that you can see on the side of the cockpit there with a little loop, the marshals can pull that, or inside the cockpit down to your, I think it's your left-hand side, you've got a button which basically douses you in the driver's seat and everything in the engine compartment with foam to arrest any fires, so that the car and the personnel are as protected as they can be.
But what about accidentally hitting it? If it's there on the... You wouldn't accidentally hit it?
No, it's got a shroud on it. Generally, it's got a big old shroud on the button, so you don't hit it by accident. And they sometimes stick tinfoil or a sticker over the top of it so that you can't accidentally touch it either, or you can prove whether it's gone off by being pressed or whether it's just gone off through some other means. We're hearing in our ears, Lewis, that the precipitation may be hitting the track.
That is going to follow me for my entire career. I absolutely know it. Yeah, down at Lodge, at the final corner, we're getting a little bit. I'm actually looking at the comms box, which we can kind of see down towards Lodge. It's quite faint. It's really, really light. But there's the whole thing of, obviously when you're driving, when you start seeing it on your visor, then you get that, what they call it, is mental rain, isn't it? Where you almost underdrive it, even though you don't necessarily have to. The grip would be fine, but you still underdrive it, and that can cause some problems.
Yes, just seeing Mayor Dinnereen's car being retrieved there. Not a huge amount of damage to the front end of that car. I think he's just nudged into the barrier. Front wing damage, but that'll be easily fixed. Good to see that the recovery team doing a great job, as they always do here at the Orange Army at Oulton Park. But yes, you're right, Lewis. No windscreen in these GB4 cars, just a visor. And when you're travelling at 130 miles an hour, as they do a couple of times around this lap, that water, a drop of rain hitting a visor, explodes and makes it look like it's absolutely chucking it down. And you have to sort of recalibrate your brain as to how much rain on the visor is actually affecting how much rain there is on the track and how much grip you're going to have. And it's something that these drivers have to learn. The more experienced drivers who have raced in open wheelers or even in this championship will have a bit of better calibration of that level of how much they can push when it is raining on slick tyres than maybe some of the other drivers. And it's a vital thing these drivers need to learn as they go up the ladder, because being able to push to the absolute limit in all conditions is crucial, whether it is completely bone dry or whether it's slightly damp out there.
Thankfully for a lot of the teams, the choice of tyre has been relatively simple. There's Max Maserati and the Graham Brunton racing team trying to make decisions and such. I remember yesterday, again, we had a few conversations about this. A lot of the teams were ready yesterday, where a lot of the drivers had gone out on slick tyres. On Saturday, yes, fine. You don't know, it's fine. But in the pit lane, all the teams were ready for the stop. All the teams were ready to take the drivers off of the slicks onto the wets. They wanted the drivers to come in. The drivers don't have radios. They only have pit boards. But no driver made the decision themselves to be like, this ain't it. I need to come in. It
would have been interesting if any of the drivers on slicks had pitted for wets, because I think potentially yesterday they could have then been at least on the back of the wet shod drivers, which would have put them ahead of any of the slick shod drivers. So sometimes a bit of experience and a bit of decisiveness can help. But who knows, they may have lost too much time. We're speculating at this stage. Doesn't look like anyone's going to be pitting for wets at the moment. It's still spitting out there. We can see out of the commentary box window. But there looks like there's still a decent amount of grip. There's temperature now in these slick tyres as well, these Pirelli slick tyres. So that'll make things a little bit easier, because once the tyres, or if you start the race on cold slick tyres, which they are, no tyre warmers in this championship, really hard to get heat in them. Once they're hot, they do retain a decent amount of temperature and will grip even in slightly damp conditions.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. These drivers managed to find their way around the final 6 minutes and 30 seconds left of this race, because the safety car will be coming in. Those lights will go out as they come up towards Druids. Might be coming out of Druids. Yep, there we go. Lights off. So now everyone's getting themselves ready. They'll start really warming the tyres. Quite a lot of that, the cement dust has been cleared up on that first lap. There's quite a lot of cloud. What does that feel like in the car?
As I said earlier on, the cement dust sometimes it completely soaks up any oil or moisture, and it's effectively a normal racing surface. Other times it hasn't completely soaked it up and you lose a bit of grip. So a bit of a wipe of the visor there for our race leader Ginchard as he prepares himself for a safety car restart.
Indeed, it's like I say, it's light rain out there. You really can't notice it. It is very, very faint. So basically, put it at the back of your mind and set your eyes forward as Ginchard is looking for his second victory in GB4. He'll head his way through the final corner. The championship leader then will lead us up towards the line to get this race restarted. 5 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in this race. It could be 4 laps, depending on their lap times around here. He's got his teammate Leandro Juncos directly behind. Alex Catoulas behind there as Ari Bansal tries to go straight around the outside of his teammate at the first corner. And Isaac Phelps caught napping there. Bansal straight through and round into 4th spot. Isaac Phelps then dropping down to 5th.
Yeah, Phelps just dropping down. It looks like Alex O'Grady, our winner from Saturday in the wet conditions, is going all the way around the outside of Cascades. I've not seen that move done very many times in the past. A bit telling that the drivers are weaving going down towards Island Corner. Still a little bit slippy on circuit, I think they feel.
Yeah, Phelps maybe feeling a little bit nervous. Big slide as he was going through the island bend as well. Here's side by side between the elite teammates. And once again, a big moment for Ari Bansal, who's gone straight up the road. And he has gone off of the circuit whilst battling with his teammate Alex Catoulas. So Bansal drops right the way, basically down to the rear end of the field, courtesy of that incident. I think he's actually behind Alex Berg, so down in 13th or 14th position. I'll update you with that in just a moment. But a big moment for Ari Bansal, one of the top drivers in the championship.
Oh.
And Jack Taylor has been in the same barrier that Mayor Dia Noreen's been in, I think.
Oh, problems for Jack Taylor. He cannot catch a break this year. He's had such good pace at various times. He was, where was he on the grid? He was 7th place, looking forward to another decent top 10. And unfortunately, another DNF by the looks of it. Really unfortunate to see him not finish this race. I hope he gets a good run of luck because his pace has been better than his championship results show. But Liam Wilson's moving his way up the order one by one into 7th place now. He actually started in 8th place, so only a total gain of 1, but I think he lost out on the first start.
Yeah, Jack Taylor's pace has been that of a championship protagonist. Pace, no problem. Luck, very much a big one as they head their way down to the final corner. There comes a look to the outside from Alex Berg, trying to sneak his way through in the background. So a bit of movement happening back there, but a big lead coming in from Dan Ginchard. It's a 1-2 for Hill Speed right now. It's a 1-second lead for Dan Ginchard. Where's the side-by-side coming in? Nothing down into the first corner. A couple of big looks as they're trying to get Taylor's car out of the way.
Great job by the Marshall team. It looks like we can continue going. As around the outside, we're hearing in our ears that it is actually raining heavier, and that would suggest why Catoulas was able to go all the way around the outside of Juncos for 2nd place. We've seen that twice now, a brilliant move. Look, Alex O'Grady, our winner from Saturday, in those wet conditions. He's got a lot of confidence, and he's right on the back of these drivers, snaking their way through Island Corner. It is definitely a little bit wet out there.
Who was the best driver, realistically, on those slick tyres when we restarted under the safety car yesterday, when it was wet and they were on the slicks? Alex Catoulas was the best driver on the slicks. He did have a bit of a moment, fair enough, and dropped back. I think Alex Berg ended up being the highest place at the end of the race, but Catoulas at the restart of the race had such confidence, even despite the lack of grip. Of course, the best driver yesterday, there was no doubt about it. It was Alex O'Grady. I'm going to keep saying yesterday, it's fine. Catoulas is fantastic as Pribble with a big lock up in the background.
Wow, his left front locked up completely there. He'll have a terrible flat spot on that tyre. Didn't quite manage to make his way past Alex Berg as we see Ari Bansal recovering behind the number 23 with a flashing light there. That is Luca Magnusson. He came 2nd on Saturday in the wet conditions, struggling a little bit more today's racing. We've got a fascinating battle, 2nd through 5th. That's Juncos, Catoulas, O'Grady and Phelps.
Yep, indeed. 2 minutes left to go, so we'll have 2 laps at the line. Alex O'Grady going on the attack, could be looking for back-to-back podiums here at Oulton Park, but he'll have to fend off Isaac Phelps, who started out this restart of the race a little bit calm, a little bit sedate, dropped back, maybe complacent, you could say, as he dropped back, but now he is looking to charge away back through. Big move to the inside coming in for the number 3, the charcoal grey and the light blue of Alex O'Grady, fires his way back onto the podium.
Wow, that was a decisive move down in turn 1. Jinked out on the brakes, had a little bit of a wobble, but Catoulas looking back up the inside of Cascades won't get the move done. It's definitely wet out there, Lewis. 10 seconds a lap slower than they were in qualifying on these same tyres. So the rain that's falling is affecting the amount of grip they've got. And the man on the move at the moment is this driver, number 3, Alex O'Grady.
Could he be getting the 35 points for the race victory once again? I mean, I think Ginchard might be a little bit too far clear for him, but he could well get his way up into 2nd spot. He'll have a big move, though, to make that one stick. 29 points up for grabs if he's able to do so. At the moment, he's scoring 24 as they fire their way into the Britain's chicane. O'Grady with a better exit, much more aggressive. Is he going to be making a move as they work their way down into the Hislop chicane and then through Knickerbrook? No move coming in just yet as they'll work their way into the brakes and down the hill. McLean's having a really good drive once again here as he works his way past, or rather fends off Alex Berg. You've got just ahead of him Callum Baxter. So that is McLean moving up into the top 10 actually. So he's going for back-to-back top 10s. That pace performance car looking pretty quick. There's a bit of a look to the outside coming in from the 45. Alex O'Grady then. This is third position, the battle for the number 3, the 51 and the 35. It's Alex O'Grady with Catoulis behind, with, of course, Isaac Phelps behind that. Leon Wilson's closing his way into the fight as well. There's some moves happening in the background also. They drop down the hill, and it is still the 77 of Junkos hanging on. By the way, I want to correct myself. I said the 17 was McLean. Correct myself, it was Bostangiev, who is the one that's currently in 9th position ahead of Berg down the order. McLean obviously had that crash before the start of the race. But as they head their way onto the final lap of the race, O'Grady defending, taking that line right through the middle as they head their way through Cascades. There's a bit of a look coming in from Ari Bansal in the bright yellow Elite Motorsports car as he works his way back inside the top 10 with a move there, getting past Berg. Bostangiev has got past Baxter as well, so Bostangiev now runs in 8th position, Baxter in 9th, and then Ari Bansal's back inside the top 10. It's been a great defensive drive from Leandro Junkos, as he's looking for yet another podium. Obviously retired from the race yesterday, has had a podium to his name back in Silverstone, but is looking good for a podium here in race number 2 of the weekend. They head their way up hilltop, then down into the Hislop chicane. There comes the 51 on the right-hand side of your screen. That's Catoulis trying to grab that final spot on the podium off of the hands of Alex O'Grady. And there is the 32 of Hilton, just trying to keep Wilson at bay. They've battled quite a lot, and Bostangiev fills that gap with the white and green pace performance car, fires his way through, and Bostangiev is marching his way up the order in these tricky conditions. The rain has very much lightened. It's just greasy out there, which is sometimes even harder than a full wet circuit. And look at this driver, completely dominated. Piers predicted it very well, that Ginchard was going to be very difficult to beat in this race. I don't think you'd necessarily expect his teammate to be alongside him on the podium. It's going to be a 1-2 for hill speed. It's going to be Dan Ginchard for the second time in 2025, taking a victory here in the GB4 Championship. His teammate Junkos alongside him on the podium, and O'Grady into third, making the second podium of the weekend. And for a season which has seen domination from Elite, we've seen him on the podium so many times this season. In total, it's been 9 times in this, correction, it's been 10 times this season we've seen an Elite Motorsports car on the podium. We have seen him on the podium 0 times here at Oulton Park. And that seems like it's going to remain as we see Megan Bruce, who's been off the road in the number 9 KMR Sport car. I don't know what's happened to her in the... and there's also the 55 of Ava Dobson that's also had a bit of a moment as well. So a bit of post-race drama to be dealt with, as that's down at the at Knickerbrook, at Hislops and Knickerbrook. So pulled off to one side. I didn't quite see where Megan Bruce has ended up on the race circuit. But there is Dan Ginchard. There is your race winner for the second time this season. And of course your championship leader. It will be a big championship lead opening up for Dan Ginchard, especially when you consider his closest championship rivals really is Catoulis and Phelps in 4th and 5th. You could chuck Ari Bansal in there, who's down in 9th position. And of course, maybe you could throw Alex O'Grady in there as well, who is now in the top 5 in the championship and is looking stronger as the races of this season unfold. I'm sure he'll be a very happy Dan Ginchard. I mean, look, he was very happy after qualifying on the double pole earlier on Saturday, when he went through qualifying, grabbed pole position for the first race. The second fastest lap for him as well was fast enough. Megan Bruce is off at the same point of the circuit, and you can see the right-hand side of Ava Dobson's car. The car on the right, the rear right of that is broken. It is lifted off of the ground, so there's been definite contact between the two of them. Don't have to be that well educated to work that one out. It's not some crime scene. It's pretty obvious there's been something between the two of them, especially if there's damage on the front left of Megan Bruce, which is what's left to her retirement. There's Ginchard then. He'll work his way back into Parc Fermé. For hill speed in the Teams Championship, I know. Obviously, everyone's talking about Elite and running away with this and yada yada yada. I get that, but I will say, those points that will be scored here from a 1-2 for Elite, very, very good. Sorry, for Hillspeed, very, very good. They're on 221 points as a team at the moment, are Hillspeed, and Elite are on 310. So that gap will have closed up a fair amount, because, of course, even if you're a 3-car outfit like Elite are, it's the top 2 drivers from your team that are scoring points on a given weekend. There he is then, on top of his car, and onto the top step of the podium. It is Dan Ginchard for the second time this season. Has looked strong all the way throughout the season, right? Has, in the first round it was a 2nd, 5th and a 4th. It was just consistency. In Silverstone it was a 6th, a 5th and a 1st. Despite a poor qualifying, again, it's just consistency. The worst result in those first 2 rounds, the first 2 weekends of the championship, was 6th. Obviously, the race earlier on in this weekend, obviously back on Saturday, it was 13th place. But still, that's really not that bad, considering your main champion rivals are 15th, a 16th, a 17th, or are out of the race. So, realistically, you've got to give him some credit. The consistency is paying off, and it's working out for him. Let's head down, though, to catch up with the top 3, because Piers Prior has raced his way down into Park and he's ready to chat to him.
We're down here on the immediately after the race, Dan Ginchard, championship leader and another race win. That must feel pretty good.
Oh, it feels amazing to do it in conditions like that, where it was topsy-turvy, safety car restarts, oil on the track. And yeah, it was nice to win by a little bit of a margin as well, and massive shout out to Leandro. He drove a fantastic race to get P2, so it's a massive result for the team. I
was about to say the team 1-2, considering you're 1-5 on the grid. I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that, can you?
No, definitely not. I had a really good start, and I managed to get a gap straight off the start, and then I looked at my mirror and saw Leandro was fighting for P2, and I thought that's fantastic. Just shows how good of a car we have all round. All the different conditions were thrown at us, and we were the best of everyone on the grid.
You made it look easy, but with it being, I think it was about 10 seconds a lap off the pace of what you did in qualifying, it must have been tricky just to keep it on the circuit.
Yeah, definitely, and as a leader you're always sort of hitting the conditions first, and it's changing every lap, so it's sort of a dice roll. How hard do I go in, what bias do I go, but I was playing about with it all the way through. Yeah, really pleased with the result.
Amazing. And what can you do in race 3?
Well, if it's wet, anything can happen. We could be on for a podium again, so yeah, really looking forward to it.
Amazing. That's our winner and championship leader. Extends his championship lead, Dan Ginchard. I'm going to grab a word with his teammate, Leandro Juncos, 2nd place. He's for Hillspeed, also Leandro. Wow, what a start to the race.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, I knew we had to get the moves early on. You can't really overtake here, so just be aggressive. I knew kind of where I wanted to place the car. A couple opportunities, and yeah, just took advantage of it and was able to stick with it.
You had really good feeling in the car, and for a driver, and I mean this respectfully, hasn't had a huge amount of experience in racing, and maybe not even in these conditions, coming from America. How did you get up to grips with things so quickly?
I'm not really sure, because yesterday I went off, so I had not much practice. But yeah, the car was mega. We should have probably done this yesterday, but we missed it with the tire. And yeah, the car's just been mega all weekend, and the conditions, I guess when it gets more tricky, it's a bit easier for me because it levels the playing field, right? So yeah, just happy with the result.
It looked like good fun out there, overtaking cars, sliding around on slick tyres in the damp conditions.
Yeah, it was mega. I mean, that's the best of racing, right? In the rain, slick tyres, nothing more fun.
Amazing. Leandro Juncos, congratulations. A team 1-2 for Hillspeed and a podium for yourself as well. I'm going to grab a word with yesterday's winner. Sorry, not yesterday, Saturday's winner. We've been all over that. Alex O'Grady, another podium. You must be over the moon.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great race again. I think it was a good job we saved the slicks for today. Definitely had a bit of a tyre advantage over everyone. And yeah, the elites seemed to be sliding around everywhere. I'd done 2 of them around the outside, and yeah, I managed to work my way to P3, and the pace looked really strong. Definitely felt I could probably catch Ginchard if I was ahead of Juncos, but next race.
I was about to say, if the race was 5 minutes longer, do you reckon you could have had a go at the 2 Hillspeed drivers?
Yeah, I mean, I think Juncos overtook Catullus on the yellow flag, so there might be a penalty coming his way. So I wasn't taking any risks. I wasn't going breaking on the outside and going off. So yeah, I just sat in P3 and just took the result.
You're making a great championship bid here, 4th, I think 5th in the championship at the moment, but closing the gap to the leaders.
Yeah, definitely. After Silverstone, we were nowhere, 60 points behind, and then we halved that gap yesterday. And yeah, now we're closing in on the elites as well, so it's looking very good.
Looking very good indeed. Alex, I'll let you celebrate with the team. We've got one more race to come this weekend, but before we do that, I'll let Lewis speak you through what was another thrilling race at round 8 of the GB4 Championship.
Yes, indeed. Let's take a look then at highlights from the race. Round 8 of the championship with the race down into the first corner. It was Ginchard leading from pole position as he got onto the brakes and flicked it through the opening corner. The big struggle on the start of the race, though, was Isaac Phelps. Down the order a couple of spots as Leandro Juncos was working his way forward. Hillspeed getting the car all fired up as he'd work his way through into third position with a big move down the inside of Ari Bansal. It wasn't too long before he was trying to make this move on Catullus. In the tricky, low grip conditions, he was able to work his way over the nose of the elite car and was up into third position before Ari Bansal would fire his way around the outside and would drop it off the circuit, promoting the elite driver up into second. There was an unfortunate moment, though, for the number 44 of Mayor Dianarine, who would be off the road, causing a safety car, meaning that they'd have to get their tyres all fired up once again with just 5 and a bit minutes left to go. Big moment between the two elite cars saw Ari Bansal off the road for the second time, basically, at the Shell Oils hairpin as he'd drag his way back onto the circuit. There was another big off, that one for Jack Taylor, as he'd be off and would touch the barrier himself, basically retiring him from the race. There was Leandro Juncos then defending like his life depended on it for second position, keeping the number 51 of Alex Catullus at bay. Alex O'Grady was looking for the podium, and with this move, he'd find it. Big one down the inside to the Old Hall corner, the first turn on the circuit. He'd be firing through and we're onto the podium with the two elite Hillspeed cars. It was Dan Ginchard up towards the line to take victory once again. It was a 1-2 then for the Hillspeed team. Ginchard then ahead of Leandro Juncos. Fantastic result for Hillspeed. 3 seconds though, the gap between them as Ginchard was checking away into the distance. O'Grady in third position, making it another podium for him this weekend. Catullus in fourth with Phelps, Hilton, Bastangiev, Wilson, Bansal and Baxter, the top 10 finishers. Then we'll have the second of the Graham Brunton Racing Cars Berg demoted out of the top 10 late on in the race with Coulthard in 12th. Pribble, then Magnussen and Ingram Hill with Holman, Mile and then Watkins, McDaniel and Dobson, who all had great races yesterday. Unfortunately, a bit of a struggle here in this one. Megan Bruce, then Taylor. Dianarine obviously retiring with Taylor, and of course McLean out before even the race started. Let's talk about the championship standings though, because it is a big lead that is opening up in the championship as Ginchard leads by 18 points at the moment. With that victory, Catullus in fourth spot, meaning that gap opens up comfortably. Alex O'Grady, of course, on the podium, still in fifth position behind the trio of elites, Catullus, Phelps and then Bansal, but is now 46 points rather off the championship lead. Enzo Holman is up there as well. Leandro Juncos in sixth position, then Enzo Holman, then Wilson, Berg and Baxter, the top 10 finishers there in the championship. Juncos, to be fair, with that podium, really solid result for him, really solid result for the Hillspeed team. It does mean that they will be closing up quite a bit in the team's championship. Let's take a look then at the podium, of course, where we'll welcome on the top three from that race. To talk to you just very briefly on the team championship, because it has been closed up as 285 points for Hillspeed, playing 350 for Elite. So that result has very much closed that margin down. It's still quite wide at 65 points, but still, taking a victory is always fun. But when you're up there with your teammate as well, it certainly does feel good. Onto the podium for the second time this weekend then, it is Alex O'Grady into third position, up to fifth in the championship, and of course a fourth consecutive top 10. Leandro Juncos will jump on the podium into second position. Already had a third place finish back in Silverstone race 3, but that is a second podium for him in his GB4 career. And onto the top step of the podium for the second time this season, it is Dan Ginchard. We've seen him in the top 10 in 7 of the 8 races. We've seen Ginchard, the only one where he's not been on the podium, or not inside the top 10 rather, was in the race on Saturday. Richard Randall there to hand out the trophies, of course, to our top 3. A very well-deserved one there for Ginchard. A solid drive, just absolutely dominated, as expected, with the difficult conditions. Qualified on pole position in both race 1 and race 2 for this weekend, and dominated this one, putting aside the disappointment of 48 hours ago to say, I am the championship leader, and has won a quarter of the races that he's taken part in this season. We'll hand down, though, to Piers, who's still down there in Park Ferme.
Wow, great to see such an incredible race again. One that was interrupted, made interesting by the weather conditions. On Saturday we had mixed conditions and mixed tyre choices. Today we had slick tyres in what is now even more rain. We've got one more race coming up today. Join us at about 4:30 for that one, and I'm sure that's going to be entertaining if the weather forecast has anything to go by. I'm just going to move the barrier out of the way for camera operator Shane so that he doesn't trip over. I wanted to wade in and grab a word with Alex Connor. Alex, come on in this side for me, my friend. Alex Connor, some of you may recognise him, former GB3 driver, coaching with Hill Speed. As a coach, days don't get much better than when you go 1-2 in tricky conditions, right?
No, definitely not. I mean, after yesterday's race, which was, a bit unideal, but today's race has just been kind of flawless from both of them, so couldn't have asked for a better result, really.
Yeah, let's talk about the team's form this weekend, especially Dan Ginchard. Hit the ground running from Thursday. He was quickest in pretty much every session. Do you have to do much as a coach at that stage?
Obviously, there's your little bits and bats that you look at through the data, and you can see them little half a tenth that you can find to your teammate. But to be honest with you, there's not been much to get him to do, really. But yeah, no, he's been driving very, very well all weekend.
And a word on Leandro as well. A great result, race 2. I mean, he made some excellent moves in that one. You must be impressed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, his first time at the track was on Thursday morning, and from where we were on Thursday morning to now has been a massive jump forward, and you can't ask for more, really. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, great job by yourself as a coach for Hill Speed, and also great job from the team. Wow, what are 2 races we've had so far already. Round 9 is coming up later. Green flag for that race will be about 10-5, so join us at about 4:30 for that one. Really looking forward to that. As you can see on screen there, 5:05, my mistake, is the race start for that one. Again, it's scheduled to be an excellent race. The weather is looking changeable, so join us then for the reverse grid race of GB4, round number 9 later on.